Hi, it's Chris Short again. This is the third workshop of the Regeneration Challenge, and today we're going to look at how to make different types of books. Artists, these days, many artists are creating a variety of artist books on all kinds of different things. All kinds of things that they're interested in, sometimes stories, sometimes it's recording ideas, sometimes it's given as gifts. So let's get started, and I'm going to start with a book actually by Janet and Alan Ahlberg. It's called The Jolly Pocket Postman, and we're just going to have a look at this book, and I'm not going to read it because it would take quite some time, but inside this book, and I'll just show it here, it's the cover. It is a hardcover book. But inside there's a wonderful adventure about the Jolly Pocket Postman. And it's quite imaginative. It's quite a fun story. But what's really neat about this book is inside it has these pockets. And inside the pockets are various different things that all relate to the story. So the first pocket actually has a pocket inside. And inside that is a magnifying glass. So you can include things in your pockets if you make a book. And it's really quite fun. Let's see what we have. The next pocket actually has, this all has different things, and these are all ideas you could use. This one has a circle, and you have to read the circle, which is a rather interesting way of being able to write a story or write part of a story. And this one says, it says, bumped your head and in a spin, lost and all at sea, just find the party in the woods and have a cup of tea. And you have to read it as a circle, which is quite fun. So a different approach to that, and say it's something you can put in a pocket. What else do we have here? Let's have a look. Oh, this one's rather neat. Inside this one is lots of interesting spiders on the inside. This one, when I open it up, you can see this. This one here has a little pop-up card inside, and it's written as a telegram. So it says here, and at the end of a telegram, this is an old way of sending information across wires. At the end of every sentence, they say the word stop. So this one says, sorry about tea, stop. Should have drunk pop, stop. Mind how you go, stop. Try not to stop, stop. So it's really quite fun. And on the back here, we've got batograms, ratograms, newtograms, and frogograms with little images on the back there. So again, something different that can really make your book or your story quite fun. And later on, I'm going to show you how to do some pop-ups that you can include in books that you want to make. Other things that we have in here, this one has actually a different kind of book inside. It has something called an accordion book. An accordion book opens up much like an accordion. And I'm going to show you how to make this a little bit later as well. So inside this book are different kinds of books and pop-up cards, and this one here has, this is all part of the story. This one actually has a map on the inside as well, which is kind of fun. Again, it all relates to the story, which if you've got the book, have a read. If not, see if you can get the book and have a look at it. And at the very end of this one, there is another book. So it's a book within a book, and this is a standard book in its pages that are stapled in the center and opened up. And at the back of this tiny book, there's another pocket. And inside this pocket is a tiny postcard, which you probably need the magnifying glass to read. So, so it is quite fun. So yeah, I just sort of thought it would be a nice way to start this book construction by showing you, a book that has books inside and different kinds of books and pockets and all kinds of things. So how do you make books? Let's get started. Well, you certainly need pages inside a regular book. And one way of making pages is to do something called a dos-a-dos fold. So this is a dos-a-dos book. You take a piece of paper and very carefully line up the corner and the edges, and I hold it in place and then just do a little crease with my fingers. If you want to make it a very sharp crease, I tend to use my nails, but you can just use a ruler and it will make a really nice, if you just run your ruler along the side there, it'll make a really nice tight crease. So I fold this one that way and then again the other way. Like this. And say I tend to use my fingers rather than ruler, but if you haven't got nails like I have, then it's nice to be able to use a ruler. Okay, so now what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to fold. So I've got, at the moment, I've got 2 creases, one this way, one this way. Folded your paper in half, so I've got 4 quarters. Now I'm going to fold again towards the center. So I take one edge and I'm going to fold it towards the center and make another crease. Then turn it around and I'm going to take another piece of paper and just fold it in towards the center again. Try to line it up so that it's even. So now I have 8 rectangles inside on my piece of paper. And what I'm going to do now in order to make this one is I need to do a little cut. So I'm going to open this just like this, and I'm going to take my scissors and cut right up to this line here, if you can see that. Take my scissors here, and I'm going to cut it up to the end. So now I've got this happening. And then from there, what I'm going to do, and I've got one here that I already cut. All right. So what I'm going to do with this now is fold it down again and then push it in. So fold it down and push it in and then turn the pages around. And there you have, unless I'm going to turn it this way, it works a bit better that way. So then you have a tiny book, a dos-a-dos book, which you could use to, for anything you want to, a story or anything. So, okay, I've got another one here. And the nice thing about this is you can actually, I'll show you later in a minute how you can actually sew these together to make a book. I'm going to put these out of the way. So that's one way of making a tiny book, very easy way of doing it. Another way that's a little bit more difficult is to actually make a book that is sewn together. I've got a bigger one here. And what I've done with this, because a bigger book, you know, you can staple, like if it's a small book, get your stapler and put staples in. But if it's a bigger book, your stapler doesn't reach to the center. So you have to sew a little bit of binding or something in the center there. So what I'm going to do is just show you how you can take just regular rectangles, cut them out so that they're all the same size, and then fold them in half so that you have all the pages. And in order to keep those together, you need to be able to sew them. So I have a needle and a thread, and needles are kind of tricky sometimes to thread. So if you need a hand, don't worry about asking for that. Okay, so I've got to figure out how to sew this. And what I do with this usually is I kind of go from about 1 centimeter from the edge of the outside, so the outside fold, I've got the outside fold here, and I go for about 1 centimeter from that edge, and I take my pencil and I mark a little dot. And then on this crease I count 3 centimeters, 1, 2, 3, approximately 3 centimeters. That gives you a nice width for sewing. And then 1, 2, 3, another one, 1, 2, 3, another one. And of course if your book's bigger you can keep going with this. So now I have where I'm going to sew, and what I've done now is I take my needle and very carefully poke a hole, because I need to know on the other side where to come through. So each one of those holes, very carefully poke a hole. And this one here, another hole. And then finally this one. So just be very careful you don't poke your fingers. Now, to start sewing, what I need to do, I don't want to have my knot when I finish my sewing on the inside. I want it to be on the outside. So I'm going to start from the outside, and I'm going to start from the center. So, or roughly the center, the two middle holes. So I'm going to start with this hole, and I'm going to go through with my needle and pull it through. And I'm going to leave a nice long length outside because I'm going to need that for tying, if you can see that there. So I'll go through that side, and then I'm going to go back to the outside. I'm going to go this one here. Oh, very carefully. I have to turn this around a little bit. There. And turn this one through like this. And so I'm leaving this length because I need that for tying. So I've gone through that way. Then I'm going to go back through the same hole again. And through this way, if you can see. And then I'm going to go the other side. Over here. And out this way. Whoops, I have to make sure I don't pull this. This one wanted to pull again a little bit, so I'll pull it back. It almost came out, and then I'd have to start all over again. So now I've got this one in the center again on the outside, and then I go through this one right here like this. So now I've got those two covered, and I'm going to go back again on the inside there. So now you can see that on the inside it looks all nice and neat. I don't know if you can see that there. I should have used a different colour thread, I think, so you can see it better. But hopefully you can see how you've got nice stitches on the inside. And then the outside of the book, I then can take my needle off, put that away, and I can tie a little knot on the back, which I'm just going to do now. Like this. And then when you come to do the second knot, just put your finger down to hold it in place. And then you can loop around your thread. It's all very tricky. I use my other fingers. You have to use lots of different fingers from this. And then you can pull it tight, and it will hold it nice and snug. And then I've got lots left over, so I can trim that off because I don't want that to hang over the edge of my book, or maybe you do. But for this book, I don't really want it to hang over there. Just going to trim that. And I can put my threads away. I actually keep my threads, and I can put them in recycled paper and things as well. So now I've got my little book, and it's got a number of different pages in there that I can use. But what's nice is you can actually make a cover, and I'm just going to show you one way. There's many different ways of putting a cover on your book, and so for this I'm using sort of recycled card and recycled paper. So I try to use my scraps as well. So in order to put the cover on, I'm just going to separate this outside page. What I need to do for this, and so there are many different ways of putting a hardcover on, but this is one of the simplest. What I'm going to do here is just line this up, and you'll notice that my cover is a little bit bigger than the pages in my book. That way the pages don't stick out and it protects them. And I'm going to need a glue stick. This one. And now, when I do this, something really important to remember is to put a piece of scrap paper just underneath your page. This is the first page here, because when I glue, I don't want to glue my pages together. I have done that before. It's not a good idea. So glue all the way around the edge there, and just along that little rim there. It's quite thick, that part, so I don't have to worry. A little bit in the end, in the middle there, just to hold it in place. Just make sure you've got a nice bit of glue all the way around on the outside. Yeah. And then line it up, and now you can take out your scrap paper there that you used for gluing and line it up so you've got it in the center there, and just fold down the top cover and press it, you know, nice and firmly so that it glues down. And then you've got one side of your book done. How to do the other side? It's the same thing. This down here, and then take your first sheet of paper, and perhaps I'll use a different piece just so it doesn't glue things up. Same thing here, down, glue all the way around, very carefully there, way around the edge, and in the middle there. Okay, oh, I see a gap there. Want to make sure you do glue, otherwise you have bits that kind of look a bit wobbly if you haven't got it evenly done. So like this, and then put down your back part of your book and give it a nice firm press, and there you go. Then you have your cover on the book and you're ready to start writing and drawing and having fun. And of course I've got to remember to put my cover on my glue stick so that it doesn't dry out. Okay, so now I've got a couple of different books for using for later creating. Now, what could I do? What could I put in? And you notice the Jolly Pocket Postman had pockets. How do you create a pocket? Well, I've got a little tiny pocket here actually, and inside my pocket I have a little creature, and I've kind of made up this imaginary creature because I thought it might be fun to make a whole series of stories. And I was trying to find a name. I thought, oh, what can I call my little creature? And I was trying to use like all kinds of different things. And I was looking up names, and all the imaginary names I thought of, I kept finding them when I looked them up online. It was really strange. So eventually I came across one, and I'm calling this a Rizwinaut. And I couldn't find anyone who'd used that name. So this is a Rizwinaut. And the Rizwinaut, I'm just introducing you to the Rizwinaut. And the Rizwinaut is in a tiny little pocket, which I think is going to be part of my book here. I'm going to be gluing my pocket, and you can glue that very easily on, just glue the back of your pocket. I'll just do this here so that you can see what I mean. You can glue the back, and again, do a really good job. Oh, I forgot my paper. I'll be gluing the tablecloth. We don't want to be doing that. So, okay. And there's my little pocket. And I'm going to show you how to make this pocket in a second. And somewhere in my story, I might just put it on the first page there. I'm going to glue in my pockets. It's a bit smaller than the pages, but that's okay. And now I've got my pocket inside my book, and I can start my story about the Rizwinaut and all kinds of things that the Rizwinaut's going to do. So how do you make a pocket? Well, I've got one here. It's a bit of a bigger pocket. It'd be too big for that book, but it might fit nicely on the other book that I have there. So how do you make a pocket? Well, what I do, first of all, is fold a piece of paper in half lengthways, which is what I did here. So I folded this in half lengthways, and then I took my ruler, let me clear this table, and I marked with my pencil just 1 centimetre. You know, to be an artist, you have to be very good at measurement. So 1 centimetre from the edge, I marked a little dot there, and then the same on this side, 1 centimetre, marked one there. And then at the other side of this rectangle, I did the same thing. I marked 1 centimetre, and then here too, 1 centimetre. And then I took my ruler, as you can see, and I joined those 2 dots and drew a line all the way along on this side, and a line all the way along on this side. I'm not doing, you know, I'm being quick here. So I had my 2 lines there, and then I folded this very long rectangle in half. So I've got 2. So, and then I knew my center line, of course, and it helps with the pocket fold. So what I did then, if you can see, is I just did a tiny little angle from that center line there. And I've got a protractor here, sort of roughly 30, 40 degrees, you know, if you look at your protractor, sort of roughly an angle like this. You don't have to measure it exactly, but something like that. So now what I have here is a trapezoid shape. This trapezoid shape, you can see it, it kind of comes all the way along here. It's got 2 parallel sides, but the other 2 sides aren't parallel. So it comes around like this. And I've got another one over here, so I've got 2 trapezoids. And what I'm going to do now is cut out the trapezoid shape. And there's a reason for that. So I cut that one out here. To the corner, like that. There we go. One very skinny trapezoid. And I'll cut this one. To there. So now I've got 2 very, very, very skinny trapezoids. Now, on the part here for the front, it's always nice when you have a pocket to have something that you can sort of hold on to or something that helps you put things in. So what I did here is actually I used my protractor, and it was kind of handy because I thought, oh, that will make a nice little handle shape. So I put this on here and then drew a little semicircle here that then I'm going to cut out. And that will give you, this will give me that little front section. You can make this any shape you like, actually. It doesn't have to be a semicircle. It could be a triangle. It could be many different things. So now I have got this. And to make my pocket, I need to, I'm going to get my scrap paper again, I need to fold along this line here. And folding is, if you need some help with folding, sometimes folding is a bit tricky when it's very skinny like that. And what I found it rather handy is to put your ruler along the line and then use your thumbs to just give it an edge, and that helps to fold it up. So I'm just going to put this down here and put this up like this. Okay. There. And then I've got my paper fold. That didn't fold very well. I'm going to have to pull that up a little bit better there. Nice thing about paper is it's quite flexible, really. If it doesn't work quite right, you can just twist it and turn it until it does. Okay, so now I'm going to do a little bit of gluing, and this time I need to glue the front, which is going to be this part, onto here. So I'm just going to put this on. I'll keep it up as the flap, put my fingers behind, so I'm not gluing down on this part, because then your pocket wouldn't work very well. So I've got this side, and then same with this one. And put my fingers in the way so that the glue doesn't go underneath that. Okay, and then I can take my front and just line it up, take this out of the way, and press down. And then I've got a pocket. Now I have 2 pockets. This one's got a slightly smaller little entranceway. So pockets, they're quite easy to do, and you can put them in any book, and then you can put all kinds of things inside, which is kind of cool. Okay. So what else can you do? What other kinds of books are there that I can show you? Let me see. What do I have now? I have one here, which is really quite fun. It's called What's in the Fridge. You might have seen this one. And it's a pop-up ABC book by Ruth Tilden, this one here. And it's rather fun. I'm going to put these pieces in my recycled tub, ready for making other things. Now, so, yeah, Ruth Tilden. And she did this wonderful, a tasty pop-up ABC book. And this is rather cool. Inside this box, which is her book, she has something called a tunnel book parts. She has flaps also that are tunnels. here, there, and she has an accordion book, which has all the different food in. It's really quite amazing. My, that's a very full fridge, though. I don't think I'd get as much in my fridge. And in this one here, she has, oh, and there's the Riswinaut hiding out in the freezer. I think the Riswinaut must like food. A lot of food, and frozen food. There's another Riswinaut hiding in there. So yeah, and this one is like a little pull-out pop-up that you can get in there as well. So really quite fun. So how can you make these different types of books? It's really quite clever how this is constructed. So let me show you some ideas and things that you can do. I've got here actually a very large accordion book. Here. It's quite a large piece of paper that I've used for this one. As you can see, it's huge. And I've folded the bottom, so I've actually got pockets within my accordion book, which is rather handy because I can store things inside so that I can show you. So, making accordion books. What do you do for that? Well, I've got half of one of those long sheets of paper here. And how to make one? It's quite simple. Fold it in half, lengthways, like this. And then open it up and bring the center, the outside into the center, like that. This way, and then around this way. I hope you like constructing things, because this workshop is all about constructing things. So now I've got folded this way. And what I'm going to do now is, see, I've got it like this. So I've got 4 quarters now. My rectangle is into 4 quarters. Now I'm going to fold that first flap back on itself, like so. So now I'm making an 1/8. You can see I've got this. And then I'm going to fold it back this way and then back like this. So I've got a bit more. And then I'm going to back this way and back again. This. And then my very last one like this. So what I have is a fan. If you like, you could be a fan. You can make a book that's a fan. Why not? So I've got, this is my accordion book, and I've got now 8 pages. And if you make it out of card, you can actually use the front and the back. So you can read your book this way, and then turn it around and read your book this way. So I've got, it's in 8ths now. So if I've got 2 lots of 8ths, I've actually got 16 pages that I could possibly put in my book, which is quite cool. So and I've got another one here, and of course you can put a cover on your accordion book as well. I've got here ones I haven't put together yet, but this is the same thing. You can take the last page, glue, and put it on your cover, and then this side here, same thing, glue, and put it on your cover, and then you'll have a little cover accordion book. So yeah, very nice. This one here, this accordion book is actually made from card, and I did a tiny little hook there that holds it closed. And this hook is literally, it's like another rectangle, and I cut a little slit there, a little slit there, and then when you fold it over, you can just slide them in, and they hook, so they hold something in place. This is a kind of cool way of holding your book together. And this is one actually made out of card. So yeah, so I've got lots of books now that I can put. I'll put this back on again. So but it keeps your accordion book closed if you make a tiny little hook for it. Here we go. Okay, so accordion books. It's a nice, really lovely option for you to make. There, I'm going to put those there. Actually, put that one there so you can see it. Okay, now tunnel books. They are much more tricky. I've got some tunnel books that I've made in the past here. I have one tunnel book that has lots of different sections, and you can see that actually it is partly an accordion book on one side, an accordion on the other side, and I can open it up so that you can see it. And the wonderful thing about the tunnel books is they give depth to your books, and you can put different layers and have all kinds of different things. You'll notice I haven't coloured this in. I don't colour in any of my books here to show you, because that's up to you to put your drawings, your ideas in the books. So this one here almost looks like a forest. It reminds me of sort of looking through a forest with the tree trunks in the background. So that's probably what I'm going to do when I put colour into that one. So I've got that one there. Now this one is a much thinner accordion book. It only has, as you can see, it's just got two little folds, and it's got one piece in the centre, and inside, of course, is the Riswonaut. You know, I think the Riswonaut maybe likes not only frozen food, but likes to go for walks. So, again, something about my story, and if you develop your own character and your own thoughts about your character, you know, what does it like to do? What does it like to eat? Where does it like to go? Yeah, kind of fun that you can have. So, how do you create a tunnel book? Haha. Well, what you need is one of those big, long, triangular pieces of paper again, which is what I had here. And then what I did with this is I made a centerpiece, which is that big, which is actually this big. So this bit here. And then I folded to make my accordion sides like this on each side. And then I cut out, I'm going to need, because I have to put a layer in each. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So I cut out more rectangles, exactly the same size as the front there. And then I thought, okay, what do I want in my tunnel book? So I know the first part of my tunnel book is going to be quite large, because I want to see through a lot. And I'm thinking of a mountainous sort of scene here for this one. So this is the first part of my tunnel book here. And I am just going to, again, glue this onto here, and I'm going to need my paper again, my scrap paper, to do this part. I'm just going to glue that there so it doesn't, and I'll show you how you do it, because I'm just going to do one here, otherwise you'll be watching me make a tunnel book, which takes a long time and it's quite tricky. So I'm just going to put glue stick there for that bit, and take this out, otherwise I'll be gluing it on. And just line it up so that it's on there. And then on this part of the accordion, I'm going to do the same thing, but I do need a rather thinner piece of paper to do that, because the other piece was just too wide. And I'm just going to put a bit of glue on this one. Yep, take this out and line this up. So this is the first part of my accordion book. You see what I'm doing is I'm just gluing it on the inside sections of the accordion book on the sides. And I'm going to need, now next one is going to be like this. Oops, upside down. This one is going to be like this. And then I've got another one. I've got to cut out a little bit of this one on the inside. And if you're cutting out little sections within this, it's quite tricky. You can make a hole first with your pencil, and that helps your scissors get in to cut around. Yep. I'm just going to cut out this shape. It's going to be one of the top mountains here. All the way around, roughly. I'm doing this rather fast, but you can take your time, so you can do it carefully. So I will have that one there, and then I'm going to have this one. I don't know if you can see that there. And I'm not going to make this. And then the last part I put on the back page, which is solid. So Can you see that? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, so I've got this receding landscape. I don't know if you can see that roughly through there. Yeah. Yeah, so I've got this receding landscape, and it gives a wonderful sense of depth. And of course, I need to color this and put my details on and everything with that one. So tunnel books, something that's quite tricky, but lots of fun. Really impresses people when you can do something like that. Okay, put my glue stick top on. Right. Okay, so what other kinds of books are there? There are so many. You can be so creative when it comes to artist books. I'm just going to show you one here that's many different types of books, and it's got a fold-out garden as well. It's called Monet's House at Giverny. And it's got different parts. There's the fold-out garden parts, which I'm not going to put together. It has, inside here, it has a little book about Claude Monet, who's a very famous painter, a very renowned painter. So it has information all about the artist inside, but it also, and the part I really want to show you about this, it has actually the house. And this is rather cool because it opens up like this. It's a wonderful pop-up book, and then ties on the side. And inside, just put the chair up there, you have all the different rooms of the house, which is quite amazing. You've got like little doors that can kind of barely open if you wanted to fold them. And you have, you know, like little chairs that are sticking up and bed. And so I'm going to show you a few things that, you know, might help you to create something like this. And obviously it's based on a circle, which is a different way of making a book. So, circles. I'm going to put this back now very carefully to try and keep your books in good order. So, circles. So much fun making books out of circles. How do you make a book out of a circle? Well, first thing you need to do, and I've got one here I started for you, sheet of paper, and you will need a compass. And when you load your compass with a pencil, you need to make sure that the tip is just a little bit above the point of your compass. And of course, these are very sharp, so you know, be tricky, be careful with it. You can see it's just a little bit longer. So, and have a compass that's quite solid, so it doesn't wiggle. And to make your circle, so find roughly the center of your piece of paper and take your pencil and you just hold the tip of it. What I find useful sometimes is actually, rather than turning the compass, is turning the paper itself. You have to keep it in one place all the time. And you can do it like this and turn and twist, but keeping it like that. So, and in order to make, I'm going to put this is making a bit of a shadow here, so I'm going to put that book there. Okay, keep it the same length that you've used. This is a little trick that is really cool for making hexagons as well. I'm just going to put a little point there, and I'm going to mark it. And one on this side too, and I'm keeping it the same length. You notice I haven't moved it at all. Then I take my compass point and put it right on this part here, and then make two more little points. And this is kind of making the, hopefully you can see that okay. And I'm going to move it to this one here, and to get it right in the right spot, make another one. So I'm dividing my circle into equal sections here. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points marked off. And the cool thing about this is making this circle and marking it off into 6 points is that it helps to show you like how to fold it and how to make a hexagon shape. You can, of course, fold it in half and then in quarters. That's not a problem. And then you would have like the house, Monet's house at Giverny. You would actually have 4 quarters that you could use. But I thought it might be cool to show you how you can do a hexagon one. So what I did here is I cut out my circle, and then where those points are, I folded, very carefully marked it off where it was and folded it this way. Opened it up, found my next 2 points, and folded it, came back, found my next 2 points, folded it in half, that needs a bit of crease, and come back. And then I cut just one of those up to the center. And that, of course, then gives me the opportunity to fold back and forward and make a pie-like accordion book, which is rather cool. It's a different kind of shape book that you can make, and it even stands almost like a sculpture, which is quite cool. This one here, what I did with this one, so another way of approaching this too, to make a hexagon, which of course is 6-sided shape, is to join those dots. And if you can see there, what I did is where I marked off those lines, I drew a line with my ruler all the way around. So I've got now a hexagon. And this is a hexagon that I made before, like this. And it's really, once you've got the hexagon shape, you can actually create all kinds of really cool designs. This one's actually got a star in it. By joining the different parts of it, you can actually create all kinds of different designs with it, which is rather cool. So this one is a hexagon, a kind of accordion book, which I folded back. So now I've got, and it's a triangle shape. So I've got a pie shape and a triangle shape that you can all make from circle. So a little bit different way of approaching it. How to keep these together, I've got, again, I used this one is another one, and I used a little, what I did with this one to keep it in place is I created a little slit, and I've just put a very piece of scrap paper there, long strip, wrapped it around, and then tucked it under. So it makes a little something that holds my book. So a different way of dealing with things. Now, how you'd want to create something like that wonderful house with all the rooms, I'm going to leave that challenge up to you to see if you can figure out how to do it. I know how to do it, but I'm going to leave that challenge for you to see if you can figure out. It involves making rectangles and circles and dividing your circle into quarters and then gluing down. So yeah, a little challenge for you. See if you can do that. Okay. Now, what else do I have here? Some pop-up things I think you might like to know how to do. And I have this amazing book. It's by Raymond Briggs, and it's called Fungus, the Bogeyman. And rather than calling it a pop-up book, it's a plop-up book. And it's about Fungus. And Fungus lives with his family down in the sewers under the ground. So his life is quite different from ours. And he likes to have a bit of fun with the people that live above the sewers. So this book, though, is really quite amazing when it comes to pop-ups. There we go. It's the first page there. There's Fungus. And in this, they've got all kinds of little parts that you can open up inside. This one here tells us a little bit about it. It says, Bogeymen live deep underground in the tunnels. At night, they come up top to plague dry cleaners, the surface-dwelling humans, you. So much fun. Okay, so it just carries on here and here. It's got, there he is. Oh, my goodness. I think quite disgusting, really. Oh, dear. But it's really lots of fun. What else do they have here? They have this one, this part here. This has a little pulling flap. I'm just wondering what this little flap does now. What does it do? Oh, that's right. It actually pulls. It says here, it says, these sheets don't smell much. I think the muck has worn off. Oh, my. This one, oh, there's a little hand that comes out. which is really quite, yeah, you have to be very careful with these parts, you know, so you don't break them. So yeah, this book is full of really interesting, oh, this one here, I think it actually spirals, so they've got a spiral part. Oh, that's where it is. It's been a while since I've looked at this book. If you have a look in the tin there, it actually turns around and shows different things through the tin. What else is there here? Let me have a look. Oh, this one here, which is rather, this is the bathroom that he lives in, which is rather cool. And then there's the toilet roll, which you can pull down. And inside that, it's got, different things about hygiene when you're a bogeyman, and a place to be able to complain to if they're not appropriate. And this one here is a little bit that you can lift up there. So really quite an amazing book, all about an imaginary set of creatures that live in, say, the tunnels underneath the ground. So how do you make some of these things? You can use your imagination and create your own stories and your own characters, or say you can use your books for so many other things too. So pop-ups. I'm just going to show you quickly how to do some of those. I've got some already set here, and I'm going to go back to the beginning with them so you can kind of see how to do it. So again, this I'd use card for, because card is structurally much stronger than paper, and it will last longer too, because if you're going to move things backwards and forwards, they need to be fairly strong. So to make these different ones, what I did here is actually I used my protractor for this, because I wanted to get a straight line. I wanted to get a right angle for my line on the paper here. So one way of doing that is actually to get your protractor and just mark a little spot. There's my pencil. Down the bottom, and mark another little spot at 90 degrees, because 90 degrees, of course, is your right angle, the angle like this, 90 degrees. So, and then what I did is I took my ruler and I drew a line from that point to that point, like this. And I wanted to make this pop up a kind of rectangle, so I did the same thing for this side as well. So I've got my rectangle there. So for this one, for this particular pop-up, I used a little bit of measurement involved. Same thing for this one. I did the same thing. This is a house-like shape, straight line, but this one I just did at a different angle, cut it at an angle. And for this one, I've actually cut two sort of quarter circles, not really semicircles, and left a space in the center. So for this, if I open it out flat, what I've got now, you can see the shapes that are in there. To make it pop out, what I did is I turned the paper the other way. So this one I folded out this way, pushed it through, basically pushed it through and pushed it through. So now I have these rather interesting pop-ups, which I could glue things on, like I could glue a Riswinaut on one of these if I like to, or I could make the outside of the Riswinaut's house on that one. This looks more like an Easter egg, so it'd be kind of fun to make an Easter egg design. They make wonderful cards too, but this can all be glued in as part of a book too, because you just need a back for it. So if you glue it onto a back, then you've got a solid back there, and you can see it works quite well. This is a very big book. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that one, but we'll see. So that's one part you can do. Another thing that you can do is create mouths. And how do you create mouths? Well, again, I start with a rectangle, fold it in half, and this time, and I'm going to cut my line down the center, and this time I'm going to fold it into triangles. Fold it out this way, fold it out that way, and then fold it back to itself, like this, and like this, So now I've got that part there, then I open it up, and what I'm going to do then, so I've got it opened up that way, and I'm going to then push it through, and I've got, if you like, when I push it through, when you do that bit, it will actually open up as a kind of a mouth, and you can put eyes and a nose, whatever you like, and then glue it onto a background again, so that then you have your pages, and it will open up like this. So I'm doing this very speedy, so I hope you can catch what it is I'm doing with this. Another fun one to do is a cage. Hopefully the Riswinaut won't end up in a cage. I think it likes to be free, so I don't know if it's going to end up in a cage. This is a little bit trickier. Again, I had my rectangle, I folded it in half, and then what I did is, and you can see, I cut to a certain length here, and then I cut out little slots, not quite to the same length as this one. And then I folded this part, so I have this like that, if you can see that. And then I did the same fold again. I fold it one way and then another way, and I can get this to do this properly here. Folded it the other way, so it's like that. And then open it up again, and we're going to push it through. Same kind of technique. And you can make yourself a little cage. Push it through. Oops, don't want that one to push through. I do want that part to push through, not the other part. So you see? And then you need your back part that you can glue on. Now when you glue on, obviously you glue just around the edges. You don't want to glue on the other part there. So glue it on, and then you can open it up, and you have a cage that you can use. And you can put it like this. I think actually reading this one, it works better like this. So another cool idea. Now, something you could do too is actually glue things on to make chairs and tables and things. So what I did with this is like a little scrap of card here, and I folded it one way, and one way. So I've folded it like this, and then like that, and like this. So two one way and one the other way. And what I'm going to do with this is make a little chair, if you can see that. And I could put a little chair inside. It's going to be a very nice, or maybe it's even going to be like a little place, a little shelter for my Riswinaut inside. So I can glue to the back and glue down the bottom there. And then I've got like a little shelter, which I think I've got a spare Riswinaut in here somewhere. Where have I got? Oh yeah, there's a few of them. Yeah, there we go. So my little Riswinaut can live. He can have a little snooze down in his little shelter inside the cage there. So if you can see that, having a little snooze inside. But this is one way of actually gluing on things. So you can make different shapes. Sometimes you can make beds and chairs. If you're going to do tables, I think then you would need to have something that's flat on the top, and then you'd need to fold this under again like this and like this. So many things you can glue and add on, and they will, when they open up, then it makes a, an actual 3D shape, which is kind of cool. Right, I'm going to put this here and there. Okay, so we've got so many ideas. I hope you will try some of these, because they are rather fun to make, and they make super gifts. One last one that I have, oh no, I've got two more actually to show you very quickly. There's another one you can do, and that's a snake. Must be a friend of the Wisminauts. Little snake one. And how to do this is you cut yourself a circle, spiral, like this, and get some glue on the head of your snake figure. There. just going to glue it there and put it somewhere in the center of your piece of card, like so. And then you need to glue the tail. Once it's glued down, I'm just using my finger instead of my paper to glue on that. Put glue on that one, and then place your card down like this to seal it shut. Okay, and you'll just open it up, and then you've got your snake that will open up when you open it up. Kind of cool. So that's a different one again that you can use with gluing it down. And then the last one I'm going to show you, because my goodness, and there's so many more things that you can do with this, is worth doing a bit of research if you're really into making these different kind of constructions and making them work. Then, you know, see what you can find, experiment, have fun with it. This one is the last one here. It's a little pull. I don't know if you can see that. It's a Riswanaut going for a little stroll. And how do I do that? It actually involves making a little slit in your card. So I'll just take this one apart so you can see it there. So I've got a little slit just there. And I'm just going to pull out the Riswanaut. So what I did for this is, again, scrap paper. Recycle all your paper. One small little, actually it's another trapezoid, isn't it? Because it's got two parallel sides and two that aren't. And a little rectangle, and just to attach my Riswanaut onto it. So I've got a little rectangle going this way and a long one going this way. And I glued that onto there and that onto there. So I have this little stand there. And then what I did, you can use an X-Acto knife. But what I did for this is a little trick that I use sometimes with a compass, because it is a very sharp point. And make sure you don't do this on something that's valuable like your table, because you might scratch it. So I've got my scrap wood here. What I did with this is I decided which direction did I want it to slide along, and put my ruler on the card, just a sharp edge there. And then I scored very lightly at first, and then a number of different times. And if you keep doing this a number of times, and that's why you need something like a scrap of wood or underneath, because otherwise you're going to scratch your table, you can actually make, instead of using an X-Acto knife, which is extremely sharp, you can actually use your compass to make a little slit in your paper. So I did this one first. And I wanted to make sure that it would work properly. And what I did here is I slid, oops, got to get it the right way around, or it's going to be upside down. And I put the little Riswanaut in there. And I wanted to check and make sure that it was going to slide okay, which it does. And because if it gets stuck, you can just use your compass to make it just a little bit wider, and it'll slide along beautifully then. And then I also had to figure out, well, where do I need to have the flap for pulling? So I roughly figured out, like, oh yeah, that's the angle. And then I moved this sideways a little bit because I didn't want to cut it off. Like, you can take it out. And then I put my ruler down and made another little slit there with my compass, so that then I have something that I can put my little my little pull up. There we go. And there we go. So now I've got my pulley flap. And you can just use your imagination so much with this and do all kinds of things. You can make your book. So I can put this, again, glued on the back here. Now, when I glue the back, make sure I do the edges and not the flap. Otherwise, it won't move. So, yeah. So now I've got another part to my book there. So I could put all these pieces together by gluing the pages back and back to each other and make a huge book. But, of course, you can make them any size you like. So I think that's about it for now that I'm going to show you. Have fun, explore all these different construction techniques, and I hope you create some marvelous artist books.